Hey, Jessica, I tasted the dish you prepared and it was shockingly bad, completely inedible. Stop serving such food, please. I was so shocked that I threw it all away. Hurry up and redo it, okay? Got it? These harsh words were hurled at me by my mother-in-law, who seemed to enjoy mistreating her daughter-in-law. However, this behavior would significantly impact the future relationship between me and my mother-in-law. My name is Jessica. I am 30 years old and currently working in a small design office, fulfilling my long-held dream of being a designer. My husband's name is Noah, and he is 35 years old. We met when I was a student working part-time at a family restaurant of a major group where Noah was employed. Now, Noah works as the manager of that family restaurant. By the way, Noah is the son of a family that manages a major restaurant group. Consequently, Noah is naturally expected to take on the role of a future leader, consolidating the management of the group. For my mother-in-law, the status of Noah being the future successor was a matter of immense pride and a source of boasting. I lost my mother at a young age and was raised by my father alone. When I married Noah, my mother-in-law, who couldn't accept that I was raised by a single parent, strongly opposed our marriage. To her, my background and status were considered lower than hers, and she thought of my joining the family as a blemish. As a result, I was often ignored by her. However, about a year ago, my design was chosen for the menu at the restaurant managed by my father-in-law, changing the dynamics. My mother-in-law, who had studied design in her youth, had made a proposal too. But when hers was rejected, she tried to hide her shock by saying, "Oh, I just wrote it as a trial." Being a professional designer, I found it absurd that my mother-in-law would compete with me. After losing to me, she took it as a personal defeat and started to mistreat me more openly. She frequently visits our home, criticizing and sneering at every small thing. "Jessica, what's this? There's so much dust behind the TV. You can't say it's cleaned. How were you raised to be so careless with cleaning? Living in such a dusty place, what if Noah gets sick? Jessica, you might be fine with a house full of dust, but Noah isn't used to living in such a dirty room." As soon as my mother-in-law arrived at our house, she immediately started checking around and began pointing out flaws and criticizing pompously. Watching this, both Noah and I were exasperated, thinking, "Not this again." "Mom, I cleaned that area," Noah replied, slightly irritated. "He always helps with the housework and is very reliable." "So, are you saying that being bad at cleaning is due to poor upbringing?" he asked sarcastically. My mother-in-law was momentarily speechless, but quickly changed the subject and retorted, "Oh, so you're making Noah clean? Are you that high and mighty, Jessica? You prioritize your job over housework? But are you really valuing your family? I never neglected my duties both at work and at home." Even when Noah tried to intervene, my mother-in-law continued until I apologized. "I'm sorry, I'll try harder," and she would leave satisfied, saying, "As long as you understand." Noah had tried to address this behavior multiple times, but she never seemed to listen. Noah had talked to his father about his mother's behavior, but considering that nothing had changed, it seems his busy father hadn't taken the matter seriously. At first, I thought I could just tolerate these minor annoyances. I hoped that as she aged, my mother-in-law would mellow and change her ways. Little did I know that a major incident that would shake the family was about to occur. One day, Noah's cousin got engaged, and a celebration with the entire family was arranged. Not just family, but business associates were invited too, and a grand banquet was to be held at a high-end hotel's large hall. After hearing this from Noah, I also received a call from my mother-in-law on my smartphone. "Hello, Jessica. About the upcoming celebration, we're leaving most of the catering to the venue, but it's customary for each family to prepare the main dish. You said you're good at cooking, didn't you?" Her tone was a bit sarcastic, but it was true that I had mentioned being skilled in cooking since I had helped my father, who raised me alone from a young age. "I hope it's delicious because if not, you'll embarrass yourself in front of the relatives. Anyway, I'll leave the main dish to you." Before I could respond, she unilaterally concluded the conversation and hung up. I shrugged it off as usual, started adjusting my work schedule, and began planning the main dish for the celebration. Everything was going smoothly in preparation for the celebration. There was no interference from my mother-in-law, which was eerily quiet. On the day of the engagement party, my phone rang at 11:30 a.m. The celebration was scheduled to start at 1 p.m. I was honestly surprised to receive a call from my busy mother-in-law at that time. Confused but answering the call, she began speaking in an excited and high-pitched voice. "Hey, Jessica, I tasted the dish you prepared and it was shockingly bad, completely inedible. Stop serving such food, please." I was so shocked that I threw it all away. "Hurry up and redo it, okay? Got it?" Stunned by her loud voice, I managed to respond calmly. "What? Sorry, Mother. I'm currently at the office working." "What? Work? What are you talking about? The party starts at 1 hour. There's no time. Just remake it." Something seemed off. Confused and unable to grasp the situation, I wondered if she didn't know that I had switched my task. Also, what did she mean by saying she threw away the dish I made? When I was assigned French cuisine, I had come up with a menu. But soon after, I received an important design job. I consulted Noah about what to do and decided to switch my cooking responsibilities with the invitation mailing duty. This change was supposed to be communicated to my mother-in-law by the original person responsible for sending the invitations, so I hadn't worried about it. I hurriedly tried to explain the situation. "Please listen, Mother. Actually, I had to drop the cooking task due to a sudden work assignment. I'm planning to head there after finishing work today." "Today? What? I don't understand. You were in charge of French cuisine, weren't you?" "No, I switched responsibilities, so I didn't actually cook anything." "What? What are you going to do now? There's no time left before the party starts. It's your fault for not reporting properly. Fix this, or I'll tell everyone you threw away the dish." Knowing I wasn't responsible for the dish, my mother-in-law became extremely agitated. Confused by her rapid-fire accusations, I was at a loss. Thinking about the complexity and trouble, yet concerned about being wrongly accused in front of many people. I wondered how to handle the situation. However, knowing my mother-in-law, it was quite possible she would blame me and pretend ignorance. Reluctantly, I apologized to my office for leaving early and hurried to the venue. Unfortunately, I arrived at the station just as my train was about to leave and ended up reaching the venue just after 12 p.m. Noah, who had been informed in advance through Messenger about the situation, hurried over to me as soon as he saw me arrive. However, his expression conveyed the worst-case scenario. "Oh no, am I too late? Right now all the dishes brought by everyone are here, but there's a commotion because the French dish is missing." When I went to the kitchen, I found that all the French cuisine had been thrown away and was clogging the sink. Everyone's in an uproar about what happened. As I listened to Noah, I headed towards the kitchen. There, the tension was palpable, as if those present had stumbled upon a crime scene. My mother-in-law, cornered by the tense situation, found me and began to accuse me by name. "Ah, look, the culprit has finally shown up. Jessica. It was Jessica who threw away this dish. She wasn't even here, which is evidence enough." I managed to suppress the headache that started throbbing as soon as she accused me. So suddenly around us were Noah's aunts, their sons, the recently engaged cousin and his fiancée Christina, along with many other relatives. Having been told by my mother-in-law that I was the culprit, their condemning gazes turned to me. But I decided to calmly present the facts. "Actually, I did not throw away this dish. That's a complete misunderstanding." However, my mother-in-law immediately retorted, "Don't play dumb. Don't lie to do such a thing at a celebration. Such ungrateful and senseless behavior is a disgrace to this family. I was at work this morning, so I have just arrived here." The people around us, upon hearing my story, began to murmur in surprise. "What? She just got here? Then who?" I hurried over to this venue after receiving a call from my mother-in-law. I missed the train and was delayed in arriving. I apologize. "What, Jessica? What are you suddenly saying?" "But you told me on the phone that you had thrown away all the French cuisine." "My goodness, what are you saying? This daughter-in-law of mine, not only does she mock me, but now she's trying to pin her own wrongdoing on me and act innocent. How awful. Unbelievable." My mother-in-law dramatically played the victim, appealing to the surrounding relatives as if she were a hero struck by misfortune. To the relatives, it seemed more likely that my mother-in-law, who had been part of the family for over 20 years, was telling the truth rather than me, a recent addition to the family. I felt their condemning gazes again, but was determined to assert my innocence. If you find it hard to believe, please call my workplace for confirmation. They can verify that I was working this morning, which will prove that what I'm saying is true. Just as I made this plea, a voice said, "There's no need to go that far." I had assigned Jessica a task. She graciously accepted the urgent work, and I'm truly grateful for her help. The voice belonged to my father-in-law. Behind him stood Noah with a relieved expression. Noah had asked his father to help reveal the truth. I was relieved to see my father-in-law there, as I thought he might be too busy to assist. The reliability of the family's future head was evident. The relatives who had been accusing me now looked flustered, and their suspicious gazes turned towards my mother-in-law. "So, Jessica, what exactly did my wife say on the phone earlier?" "Yes, she called to say she had tasted the French cuisine, found it very unpleasant, and said it was too embarrassing to serve. So she threw it all away. Then she told me to remake it before the time of the event." A murmur spread among the relatives upon hearing my testimony. Suddenly, a woman burst into tears amidst the crowd. The crying woman was Christina, the cousin's fiancée. I admit I'm better at Asian cuisine, but I tried my best with the French dish too. I thought I had made it as delicious as the Asian one. Tearfully, she leaned on her fiancé. Christina, the cousin's fiancée, was the one who had switched duties with me. Although she was the main character of this celebration, she had confided her plan to surprise everyone with her cooking and asked me to keep it a secret from the relatives. But unexpectedly, even my mother-in-law was kept in the dark about the secret. Moreover, Christina was a professional chef at the French restaurant run by Noah's father. "Hey, Mom, you're saying Christina's cooking is bad? Christina is a chef I hired. Are you implying my taste is off too?" "What? No, that's not what I meant. I didn't mean it like that." My mother-in-law frantically tried to defend herself, but it was too late. Christina's culinary skills, recognized and respected by my father-in-law, were beyond doubt. "Always criticizing your daughter-in-law, maybe your taste has dulled. Perhaps you can't recognize real flavor anymore." His words, heavy with irony, echoed throughout the venue. My mother-in-law, in a desperate attempt to seek forgiveness, clung to my father-in-law and apologized profusely. However, anger seemed to rise within her, and suddenly she grabbed me by the collar. "Listen, I thought it was your cooking, so I threw it away. A dish made by a woman raised by a single parent of such low status is too disgraceful and tasteless to serve to others. I threw it away out of kindness. If I had known someone else made it, I wouldn't have thrown it away. It's all your fault. You planned this, didn't you? To embarrass me in front of our relatives. How much more will you mock me? Just stop it." I was shocked and disgusted by her yelling and the spit flying from her mouth. But then Noah's grandmother raised her voice. "Wait a minute. You know I'm a divorcee, right? You say being from a single parent is disgraceful. I heard that your late mother also lost her mother when she was young. By your logic, there are quite a few disgraceful people in this family, aren't there?" Her cold gaze pierced my mother-in-law. No, that's not what I meant. I didn't know, really. I swear, I didn't know." "Well, it doesn't matter anymore. We've all seen your true character." Hearing this, my mother-in-law collapsed on the kitchen floor, trembling with despair and fear. I heard there was a commotion, but what a scene this has turned into." Suddenly, a voice came from behind. Turning around, I saw an elderly man in a wheelchair. He was Noah's grandfather, the current head of the main family. I could hear the uproar from afar. It's unfortunate that a dish was wasted. I recall my late wife once telling me about receiving sweet potatoes during the war. The sweetness of the potato made her momentarily forget the sadness of losing her mother. As we all listened in silence to his words, Noah's grandfather continued, "Remember, food is filled with the emotions of those involved in making it. My late wife often said with a smile, 'The kindness of the cook has shaped who I am today.' Wasting food is the worst thing a person can do. Surely we don't have anyone that terrible in our family, right?" He then turned to my father-in-law. "Of course, Dad. We don't have anyone like that in our family." Satisfied with my father-in-law's response, the head of the family smiled and returned to the venue. His words held absolute authority. From the words of the head and my father-in-law, it was clear to everyone present that this was the moment my father-in-law decided to divorce my mother-in-law. What was supposed to be a celebration had also become a scene of an unexpected separation. In the kitchen, only the sound of my mother-in-law's sobbing lingered, creating an indescribable atmosphere. She not only ruined the celebration, but was especially condemned for her sacrilege against food. Despite being part of the food industry, she went around apologizing and bowing down to the relatives, including those from the Branch families. It seemed that the divorce settlement was agreed upon by deducting an amount for the damages caused at the celebration, leaving her with just a small sum. My mother-in-law was ousted from the main family and ended up living in a small apartment meant for singles. Cut off and criticized by the relatives, she led a lonely life with no one to turn to. She never imagined her petty jealousy and harassment towards her daughter-in-law, manifested in throwing away the food, would lead to her own downfall. On the other hand, I was able to protect the honor of my loving father. I also managed to build a harmonious relationship with Noah's family, and am enjoying fulfilling days.